Hello, and welcome to Cheers. That's one woman's opinion. I'm your host, Carolyn Mills. Today we have a special guest. He is a talent agent, and if you saw my interview, I believe it was last week with Gary Schwartz, he is his talent agent, and he has others as well. So I would like to welcome Tim Crist. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
And so I have some questions, and the first one is, what made you decide to become a talent agent?
Well, I didn't set out to become a talent agent, actually, funny enough. My background is in theater. That's what I went to school for, and I was a stage manager. And I was stage managing a production, and the producer walked in and said, "My agent just fired her assistant. Do you know anybody who could do that?" And I thought, I could probably do that for a few months. I could answer phones. I had an administrative background. And I had no idea what I was getting into. And I walked in, and at the risk of sounding pompous, the assistant who had been fired kept showing up to work like something out of a sitcom. I mean, you couldn't write this if you tried. And I heard her on the phone talking to an actor, and I was horrified because I'd already had a lot of experience with working with actors. I love actors, I respect actors. And I actually thought to myself in that moment, I don't know what this job is, but I know I could do it better and more professionally than her. Um, and so I met the owner and we got on very well. And I always say nobody ever told me, here's how you be an agent. I just sort of figured it out because she came in one day. I'd worked there for a month and she said, I have to have surgery, but I'm leaving the business in capable hands. And I turned and there was a wall there. And I realized, Tim, she's talking to you. So I really had to figure it out. But, I already had a background with working with so many actors and am organized by nature. I don't know if a lot of people know what a stage manager does, but you have to be organized, and the stage manager is sort of like the taskmaster, keeping everybody going and on schedule and everything. So it was very much a fit for the skill set I already have. And I'm very passionate about the arts, obviously, because I worked in it for so many years. And I just instantly I fell in love with it. And I was delighted because so many people who I'd already worked with as part of the Seattle theater community were already with the roster. And in time, I developed my own relationship with them. And yeah, and it just sort of, I didn't plan to do it, and it just happened. And then it was this wonderful world to walk into.
I did stage managing in high school, so I
Oh, did you
understand the
know?
same thing. Yeah, they
Yes.
used to call me a Nazi.
Ah! Well, when I first started doing it, I thought I was like, this job is like stage managing from a desk with better hours.
It's and actually that was going to be my next question because you said nobody knows what a talent agent does. So can you tell us exactly what you do?
Oh, sure.
Since
Oh,
people also don't know.
yeah. So I had said a lot of people don't know what a stage manager does, but you're right. A lot of people don't know what a talent agent does. So I specifically, my specialty is actors only. Um, and so basically I have my roster, which is a little over 300 people that I represent throughout the Pacific Northwest. And a producer or a casting director will approach me and say, Tim, we have a job. Here's what we're looking for. Here's what the pay is, and here's all the dates and everything. And then I look at it, audit it, make sure that the pay is what it should be and that the actor isn't being taken advantage of. And then I look at my roster and see who I represent that can fit that role and who I think would be right for that role. And so then I make my um, submissions to the casting director or to the producer, or in some instances, they trust me to just send it out directly to my talent. And then I really am with the actor along the way. I'm not in the room or doing the self-tape with them, but I'm very much about arming them with information and making sure that they feel as taken care of as they can. And then they get a callback or they don't, and then they book the job or they don't. And then if they book the job, then I'm with them every step of the way. And at the same time, I'm interfacing with the producers, with the production folks, as there's a lot of logistical and getting people from point A to point B and making sure everybody has the information, making sure that the contracts are all in order and releases and things of that nature. And then I make sure that the actor and I get paid as well. So that's it in a nutshell. But it's a lot. It's sort of a broad spectrum of things. But yeah.
You said you only do actors, so like other people have talent agents that like what?
Well, yes, I it's funny when I first started doing this and I would just be out in the world and people would say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'd say I'm a talent agent. They'd say, "I have talent. I can, play the national anthem on my armpit or something like that." So that's why I say it. I say it like that. And so there's say modeling agencies. I always say I don't represent models. I represent actors who can also model. So that's why I make the distinction there.
Okay. Oh, and I saw on the Internet Movie Database that you've also done producing, and I was wondering if you could tell us about that.
Yes, so I actually assistant directed a film that's in post-production right now, um, called Arson of Crows. Is that the one that showed up on my IMDb? Or was
I
there
don't
something else?
remember.
Okay. Because I haven't I line produced a web series about 10 years ago, but I haven't produced otherwise. Um, but I
I'm
can tell you
trying
about
to.
the film that I assistant directed if you like.
Yeah.
So it's called Arson of Crows, and you'll get a sneak peek about it because it's not out in the world yet. But uh, local playwright and performer puppeteer Scott Augustin, his first husband got hooked on crystal meth and eventually passed away as a result. And so this is my description of it. This is not the tagline, of course, for the what will be on the movie poster, but it's it's sort of like Scott's. It's not the person who passed away and got hooked on meth. It's really Scott's story of how he came through that, and we've all encountered people who have faced addiction of some sort, and it's a really beautiful piece. And he originally wrote it as a one-person play, and then it was eventually turned into a film. And so we shot that throughout 2025 and wrapped at the end of the year. And
Oh,
it's undergoing edit now, so hopefully it will be coming out in the next year or so. The process for film takes a while.
sounds good. And is it a full length film or is it a film short?
N it's currently slated to be full length feature,
Awesome.
but I'm not involved in the editing process, so I'm like, things can always change. There's that old adage, we'll fix it in post. So
And I was wondering, and the next two questions, feel free not to say names. I don't want you to get you in trouble. But who was your best client?
oh, I have to tell you, I have a really hard time with favorites in life, just in general. I can tell you my favorite musical and my favorite color, which is blue, which is why my website's
And
blue.
now I need to know what your
Um,
favorite musical is because you just said that, and I love
oh,
musicals.
okay. Aida.
Good show.
I- yeah, I got to see it on Broadway when it was in previews 25 years ago. An incredible show. Yeah, those voices. Um, Good on you for you do know your musicals because not a lot of people know it. My best client really, I mean, I have goosebumps even thinking about it because this is such a gift to be able to do what I do. There's obviously a lot of hard work and there's a lot that goes into this. But the best client, the best people that I represent, is somebody who is dedicated, who's a good business partner. Um, and I I always have the actor's back, and I know that the people that I represent have my back too. And there's that partnership element of it too. So somebody who's obviously a good actor and talented, but I feel very spoiled because it's not like, ugh, John Smith is calling. They're such an asshole. I don't want to talk to them. I'm not like that. I mean, I'm lucky that it's not like, oh, well, that person's a jerk or that person's rude. I really like the people that I represent. I'm not best friends with all of them, but I also believe in them and I believe in them as an actor. And that's again, nobody said Tim, here's how you be an agent, but that's sort of my internal compass that I've always gone by.
I think you kind of have to believe in them because it's kind of hard to represent somebody if you think they suck. Like if you'd have to kind of
Yes.
believe in them as an
Yes, yes. Well, and mine is I consider it a boutique agency because if you think about what a boutique is, if you walk into a boutique, every item in there has been hand selected by someone. And that's, I mean, I'm not comparing actors to inanimate objects, but the people that I choose to represent, they they fulfill something in the agency, and so my brain has this parallel matter about it where I think of the singular entity that is the roster, and then there's each individual person who brings their own special and unique qualities to the table and to the party, and so it sort of makes up in my mind this beautiful tapestry and this fabric of this thing, and that's yeah, that's I'm a very visual person by nature, and that's just what I have in my head.
being deaf. I understand visual too. So the next one was who was the worst client that you ever had work with? Have you ever had any really like not good ones?
Yes,
Again, you don't need to say
unfortunately.
names.
Thank you. Unfortunately, yes. I mean, I'm very passionate about people, and we all know there's all different kinds of people who walk this earth, which is what makes life interesting and wonderful. But because it is a relationship, we've all been in a relationship of some kind with someone, and it just doesn't mesh. And yes, I have had people that I've caught lying to me. Um, I never used the word betrayal until recently, which I've or people maybe have had some kind of untoward behavior on set. And I always view everything as a conversation, and then one has to make a decision from there. And the irony is there was somebody and we parted ways about 6 months ago or so. And I think what came down to it was that I believed in them, but I don't think that they thought that I don't think that they believed in my ability to do what I can do for them. And so it just wasn't a good fit. And it was like I said, let's go part our ways. But I've been doing this almost 17 years. So I've of course, which blows my mind. So I of course have had many different kinds of relationships with people along the way. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
If someone wanted to get a talent agent, what would they have to do to go about getting one?
Um, Well, they would need to do their research, which I highly recommend, and they could find out like who the agents are in the area that they're in, bless the internet, that makes it very easy to do these days. And then one can look at the individual agency and see, oh, what are their submission guidelines? How do they like to be interacted with? How do they like to be approached? Because I always say, you're auditioning from the moment that you first make contact. Are you following the directions and the dictates set out by the agency? Because you're really showing them, will you be as an actor, will you be able to sort of follow the instructions when you get an audition or report to set or whatnot?
Makes sense. And some other I have those are questions I had, then some other people I had questions too. And somebody asked, what does it mean to be discovered?
Oh goodness. Well, I cannot think of the actress, but back in the 40s and the 50s, I think there was somebody who was sitting at a drugstore, drinking a milkshake, and somebody walked up and was like, "Oh my God, you should be in pictures," or something like that. I cannot think of who the actress's name was, but that's sort of the
Her
idea
name
of
started with an L. Was it Lana Turner?
Lana Turner. Thank you. Yes, Lana Turner. Yes. Um, and sort of this idea that you're sort of picked up out from obscurity and kind of thrown into it. But I think there's different ways of looking at that. I mean, you can be an actor and you can have had training and experience and everything, and then people get to know you and see the work that you do, and they can like you, and then you can get cast in more roles. One could look at that as a form of being discovered too, sort of in the modern sensibility. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so I'm not in LA, and even LA is different because now the industry's sort of got, far and wide all over the world, where once upon a time everything was concentrated in one place. So it's certainly different now, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually surprised when I contact people. I so often I see New York and I was like, I thought New York was only like Saturday Night Live on Broadway. I didn't know the things were in New York. I was
Well,
like,
I have to tell you, when I just talk to the people in the world, like I'm getting my hair cut and somebody says, "What do you do?" And I say, "I'm an actor's agent." And the first thing they say is, "There's actors here?" So, yeah.
and they asked, is there a difference in the counsel you give to men versus women?
Um, Really interesting question. That's a good one. So, for me, it's about the person. I don't necessarily have like a swath of like, oh, how I'll talk to a man versus a woman or somebody who's non-binary or trans. I'm very people focused and very individualized in how I interact with people. And so for me, it's like if I'm talking to you, say you were my actor, and I'm like, oh, okay, what is our relationship? And what, again, if I'm thinking about what do you, the individual, bring to the party? So yes, how I communicate is different depending on the person, but the place that I'm operating from is always the same, if that makes sense. Which is like in the past, if say there was an issue or something that happened, my thing is always like, okay, let's understand it, let's find out what happened, let's talk about it, and hopefully let's try to prevent something like that from happening again. And I do not mean that like, oh, the actor did something wrong on set. I mean, maybe the actor says, hey, this thing happened on set, I want to talk about it, or I'm upset about this. I always tell the people I represent that you can come to me. And I have heard that there are other individuals out there who say, don't call me, don't write me, I'll call you if I need you, but otherwise leave me alone. And that's not the place that I operate from.
All right. And as actors age, what do you tend to do to what do you tend to encourage and discourage?
Well, I always encourage people to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep changing. I think that's important no matter what anybody's doing in life. And so I always encourage that. I mean, certainly, there's things that someone might have done or maybe put up with when they were 20 that when they hit their 40s or 50s, they're like, I'm not doing that. Um, but I'm always going to encourage them to do their best and um, but I never want to have the actor feel like they're put in an awkward or uncomfortable situation, if that makes sense. So, and something that I have started saying, especially since the pandemic, is treat the audition like it's the job, and then anything else that comes from there is gravy. Do the best that you can, and hopefully you walk away having learned something from it. Um, yeah.
The question this person asked about the aging made me think it's and I don't know if I'm right, but maybe just because I'm getting older. But usually when you're young, people seem older. Anyway, it seems like actors today, older actors are still going longer. Like you got Dick Van Dyke, Marla Gibbs, Mr. Bill Daniels and his wife. They just like they're still acting in their 90s.
It's
And I don't think you
incredible.
saw that as much back in the day.
No, you didn't. And you know what I'm watching right now is the new Matlock with Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
She's the same age as my mother, who's 78. Like I'm like, oh, and just like growing up, one of my favorite shows was Murder, She Wrote, although she was only in her 50s at the time. But it's so inspiring to see because, the truth of the matter is, and it's not like, well, you turn 40 or you turn 50 and suddenly you become invisible. I know that society can treat people like that at times, but I am thrilled that these actors are still going because they're incredible. I mean, you can use terms like national treasure or whatnot because, and also these are people that we've all grown up with and lived with in our lives, and I was reading something that was talking about how we imprint upon the people that we're watching in film and TV, and that we don't have royalty in this country, but it's sort of like a lot of famous actors. It feels like that, where people they feel like they're part of your family. But
And it's nice because
sorry,
they can also help younger people.
right, because you can learn, which is really wonderful. And yeah, I'm just delighted that they're still going, and it will be a very sad day when like you just some of the greats, Oh, do you know who you mentioned Marla Gibbs because you know who's been on a couple episodes of the Kathy Bates Matlock? Hal Williams, who was on 227 with Martha Gibbs
Oh
back
yeah,
in the
Lester.
80s. Yeah, Lester. Yeah. But as traditionally as actors age, they might age out of a particular category or their look might change, and so that can impact the kinds of roles that they might go out for as well.
I think also roles are being more written for older people. Because I know
Yes.
somebody when we did Gypsy at one of the local theaters, she was like, all I can play now is Mama Rose. Everything else I'm no longer qualified for. But now they're making stuff.
There's a theater company here that I have know the people involved and have worked with, and one of the things I love about them is they are constantly changing up the roles and like going against the traditions of some of the roles too, which has been really nice.
And they asked, what are some things you do to craft an image for an actor?
Craft an image. I'm interested in that question. Craft an image. Do you mean like the kinds of roles that I send them out for?
I wish I knew because somebody else asked this question, so I'm not sure they
Okay.
were.
Okay.
I
Well,
thought they meant kind of like publicity wise, like how do you make them look like they're somebody you'd want to hire or something? Maybe I'm not sure though.
oh, okay, sure. Well, luckily I have a reputation in the industry here and people trust me. And when I tell somebody like this is the person that you need to hire and they can do this and they can knock this out of the park in their sleep. So I do get the opportunity to sort of pitch actors, as it were.
Right.
Because of how the technology's changed and everything, I don't get to do that as much as I used to. Everything used to be on the phone and now it's all over email but one time a producer did say to me, Tim, you're the last agent who still calls me. Um, I'm probably just old enough to be able to do both. But I always tell the actors like we're representing each other. So I'm gonna always put my most professional foot forward and trust them to do the same thing in their communication and when they're on set and everything. And I'm known for having really professional actors too, because again, this goes back to my trust for them and their trust for me. So in that instance, sort of by being with my agency, you know, that I guess there's this cachet of I shouldn't say I guess, but my understanding, because I'm in the middle of it, is there's this cachet with being with me. And so producers and casting directors will come to me because they know that I have really good, strong actors who can do the work and do it well.
And are there any practices in the current times, 2026, entertainment industry that you find objectionable or with which you struggle?
Really good question. Because I've been doing this almost 17 years and it's changed so much because of the technology. And because of the technology, everything is just like this. It's just like we want it now, and there definitely, in some instances, not all, there's sometimes there seems to be an emphasis more on the quantity of, say, auditions and people rather than the quality. Not in the end product, mind you, but um and then a lot of the people that I deal with are really wonderful, but like their client's client is like Well, just have them, do an audition on their phone. Like there's no effort involved at all. And the fact of the matter is there's a lot of effort involved. You know, the actor has to do their work as an actor. They have to prep the script and everything. Then they have to do the work of filming themselves and playing engineer. And then they do the acting. And then they go back to engineer. And then they have to, get the audition to who and where it needs to be, which is a process I have likened to baking, ironically enough. Um,
Did that start with COVID? I know they had some
this
things going on like Zoom and everything because people couldn't get together.
um, Zoom did start during the pandemic, but self-tapes was already becoming prevalent. But the pandemic certainly just sort of cleared that away, and there have been maybe 5 or 6 in-person auditions so far this year, and we're in the middle of May. So it depends on the project. There's some actors who they love being able to go and get in the car and go interact with a person. And there's some people who like doing it from their home and not having to fight the traffic and everything. Me with my background in theater, I understand that as an actor, you're having to play off from somebody, you know? And I threw a party for my actors and I got up there and I'm in front of there's 200 of them in the room and I was very comfortable talking to them and giving like a speech and telling them how much I love them and everything and how important the community and everything was to me. But then during the pandemic, I actually recorded a self-tape where I was talking to everybody because there have been times in my career I felt more like I was representing a cell phone than a person because I couldn't get the person on the phone or get more like we've all gotten to a text exchange where you're like, for the love of God, can we just like land this plane already? And um so it's important to me that my actors know I'm not just a cell phone or an email and that I'm a person who is specifically, sending them out for something very specific. But so I filmed the self-tape. It was one of the most miserable things I've ever done in my life because there was nothing there for me to play off of. So, and as I say to some of the people I represent, I'm like, well, you're taking a three-dimensional experience and you're putting it into a two-dimensional field. And then if you get cast, then you have to go back and make it into a three-dimensional experience with other people in the room. So it's very much you're kind of like switching different parts of your brain and whatnot.
Right.
And you now have to be able to have your artist brain as your actor and your performance, and then your technical minded brain as well.
And last one is there anything else you would like to share that we have not already covered?
Um, this is a gift and this is an honor and a privilege to be able to do what I do. I always tell people, yes, I'm running a business and a business has to make money because we don't live in a utopian society. We all have to work to live. Um, but I really count myself lucky that I have been able to do something that I'm so passionate about. And partnership and community is very important to me. And I wish everyone well in their own personal journey with whatever they're trying to do in this life, acting or otherwise, or artistic, or baking a cake, walking. It's I just I'm it's a very interesting time to be alive because there's a lot happening around us. Um, but it's moments like these that remind me why I do what I do. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for asking me to do this, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, good, good. Any other questions?
Not that I no, I don't have any other ones to say.
Okay,
Yeah, somebody
okay.
else is here to ask. Not that I have. Yeah, I don't have any other one. I'm all set. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
And
so
I'll
much
send
for
you the
having me.
info on your email.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
So
rest of your day.
next week, we'll be doing season 3, episode 12 of Cheers, Peterson's Crusoe. And this is one woman's opinion. Thank you.